If you are anything like me, your social circle has stunted your personal spiritual growth at some point in your life, and maybe that point is right now. If you stick around to the end of this video, you're going to be able to understand a little bit more why you feel that way, why you might feel stuck, and how to get out of it. So if I look back at certain periods of my life, most of the time when I feel like it's almost like the metaphor of, let's say you're hanging on the edge of a cliff and you can't get up. And you're trying and trying to do that, but you literally can't get up over the edge and start that momentum on the right path, on the path towards, feeling good or adventurous or with the ability to use your creativity. And what I found is a lot of the times the things that I'm doing, the hobbies I'm surrounding myself with in X period of my life would usually be an indicator of where I'm at spiritually or from a personal growth perspective. So these habits can take place inside of our own homes, just in solitude when we're by ourselves. They can take place out in public. And really, these are the things that are going to put you around the people or not putting you around people at all, which can be a good or bad, or let's say light or dark thing, like just something that's not great or something that is maybe good for you. It just depends on the situation. But a lot of the times these things are going to surround you with the energy to either propel you forward or to keep you where you're at or below baseline, essentially. And you feel it. If you're below baseline, you feel like you're hanging on to that cliff. So looking back, if I go back to, I guess when I was in high school, let's say, I used to have a lot of anxiety. And I spent a lot of time indoors by myself, sometimes doing things that, playing video games or looking at things online that I probably shouldn't have been. These things from a solitude, being independent by yourself perspective, they put you around this energy where you're really just stagnant and you're just staying put. And you can't, it's almost like you're frozen in time and you're not moving the needle forward. And that was a time in my life as well that I didn't really have any spiritual practices, which, I would venture to say a lot of individuals may not have that in their life at that point. And we start to learn those things as we move forward. And so that's one thing we can do. What I noticed is when I put myself around the friends that were very uplifting, and they wanted the best for me. They had fun. They joked around with me. That's when I felt at my lightest, at my most flow state, and when I could create. When we're surrounding ourselves with people like that, it's wonderful. Now, as I got into college, I think a lot of us can relate to drinking a lot, right? I got into drinking 3 or 4 times a week. I would also go to the gym, which is great, put myself around those people, and I felt best when I was active in the gym. And then I would get anxiety, like debilitating anxiety, when I would just drink a lot, right? I never would feel good. And then I'd eat pizza. And at that age, you can be pretty resilient. You can't do that, in your 30s, maybe upper 20s. That was the case for me when I hit about 26. I was like, or 25, 26, I was like, I'm stopping drinking. I'm stopping this partying thing. I wanted to take a brief pause on this video to go ahead and thank you so much for watching. Also, if you're anything like me, you've always had a tough time of really tracking your habits. And so what I went ahead and did was I created what's called the Rebuild Tracker. And what this does is it helps you understand what healthy habits you are actually following, and then maybe some of the more, I guess, negative habits that you're following, how often you're doing those. So you can take these and track them, and then you can compare them from month to month to see how you're improving. You can go ahead and add in habits. You can take habits out as you start to get in a routine with them. And then essentially what this will do is help you to level up and help you become the person that you are wanting to be. There's reflection sections. It's a fillable PDF, so you don't have to print it out. You can if you want, but I make it easy so that you can go ahead and save it on your computer, and then you can track it as you log into your computer or as you use as you'd like. So thank you again for watching this video. I will leave the link to the Rebuild Tracker below. It is free. You can go in there. Just make sure you fill out when you go to the website for the link. You fill out $0 and then click I want this, and then that should move you through. Because I knew it wasn't good for my body. But in college, that would put me around people that, were doing drugs or just partying, and I didn't do like the hardcore drugs myself, but I certainly drank, and I spent time around people like that. And then you listen to music that's not positive, that all that energy just surrounds you with people that aren't really going to propel you forward. And so when I got to, my 5th year in college, I really started to kind of slow my roll on some of those things. And I really started to kind of sink into my body. I was getting curious about spirituality because I'd grown up Catholic, and there was still a part of those morals and values that really sunk into me, and I connected to, and I always will, from just believing in a God or source creator perspective. Not that that's what everybody needs, but that's what I feel was truest for my center. And when I started to put myself around being more active, I got involved with the sports community, like this sports community in the summer. I was really able to start feeling lighter, and so that was an indicator back then. I didn't really feel into that, but just looking back, that was something. It's like, once you get that momentum and you're being healthy with yourself, and it puts you around that circle of people that you're going to be the healthiest around, and will encourage you to become the best version of yourself. And then I moved into a period of my life, after college, where a lot of people move away. You're kind of by yourself. I got kind of depressed. I was in a relationship, got out of a relationship, and I think that kept me busy for a while. But when I couldn't really be with myself, it was like torture, because I wasn't really truly connected to my inner being, my center, my true North Star. And when we do that, it can be painful. And when we haven't really spent time with ourselves really in an intimate way and get to know ourselves and those shadows and those edges, they stay subconscious. They stay stuffed inside of our organs, inside of our bodies, and they make us sick. And so what I noticed is when I ended up moving back to where I grew up after college, after about a year, I noticed that I started to put myself around friends that I hadn't seen in a while. The community, I was already connected to the community because it was a small enough community, and I started to feel good. However, if you're not fully putting yourself in a beneficial position with your habits, again, you're going to put yourself around people that aren't going to allow you to grow in certain areas of your life. And that's usually spirituality is one of those things. And I ended up partying quite a bit. I was working a lot. I really found success in the new career I was in a sales career. And there were positives to that, people that pushed me professionally, and connections that I had that were very wholesome and then also the friends I had grown up with in that town. And that was really, really good for me. The other side of that polarity was chasing after the dollar, right? So you start to make more money, you get successful, and then all you do is attach to that, I want more money, there's never going to be enough. And that's really not a positive place to be if you're not in a good mindset and you're not doing something purposeful or a passion that is going to help others, which my company did do that. We were helping others by what we did, but there was a lot of money to be made. So when you started to attach to that, just the money aspect, it's almost like that. It's a lot of us get into this moment of scarcity. I think it's very prevalent. It's very thick in the air in the United States, especially. We grow up with competition, wanting to be the best, having to prove ourselves. When you get to that spot in your life, you're going to put yourself around those types of people, which is sometimes great if they're in the right mindset. Sometimes it's very toxic, and we can get so far away from ourselves, and we think we are we think we're the greatest thing ever, and we can do anything we want, and we're insurmountable. And that is just not the case. When you get humbled and you get sick and you get injured and you lose things, you start to realize this is not the stuff that matters. So if you can find a good balance, that's great. And that will allow you to put you around the people that you're really supposed to be with. So if you find yourself just chasing after the dollar, chasing after the tangible things, the objects, that is really a lot of what society is, especially with social media. You're going to find yourself around the same people that aren't going to allow you to grow spiritually. When you can find that even keel, that balance in life of, hey, I'm making a living doing something I'm passionate about and I'm helping people, and you truly are passionate about it and you feel like you're meant to do this, and it's not really a job for you, it doesn't feel like a job, that's a great place to be. And then that allows you to be spiritually attuned as well. And so if you find yourself just trying to prove yourself in the corporate world and it's driving you to the ground, you come home and you're like, man, I've been acting. You're so tired, you're exhausted because it's almost like you've been acting the whole day. You've been trying to be this other person that you really aren't. That's a really good indication to start to get curious and, hey, what am I doing? What do I really want to do? Because what's going to happen if you go down that road, if you continue to go down that road, you're going to continue to put yourself around those people that aren't growing yourself spiritually. If you're just after the money or the objects or the proving something in society, you're in this box and you're not living free with creativity, you're going to start getting sick. There's a book, it's called The Body Keeps a Score. It's kind of like a similar concept, right? The more we get outside of ourselves, not in tune with what we actually want to do and what we're passionate about and what our purpose is, the more we're going to go down off the tracks. We're going to get off the tracks. We're going to chase after things. We're going to stuff things down. We will not want to come up to, if there's relationships like clashes or arguments, we're going to want to stuff those things down. And what that leads to is that I would say like archetype of behavior is going to lead you down a road of infidelity if you're in relationships or marriage. And it's going to create a lot of shame inside of you. It's like shame creating more shame. And that's where you really, really, if you are somebody who's super successful, you get stuck and you're like, man, crap. I feel like I'm hanging on the cliff. I'm hanging on the cliff and I can't get up. And I'm ruining relationships. I'm ruining, my relationships with my kids because I'm not spending time with them. I'm feeling sick because I'm always tired. It's just life force being sucked out of you because you're doing all these things that are so far out of you. And trust me, you will get sick at some point. I knew somebody who was very successful. He's in his 60s. He's very successful in the financial industry. And he realized after 40 years, he had been making himself sick for 40 years by just working hard to the bone, trying to chase something, to prove something. And yeah, he was able to be very successful in some way, but was it really worth it for that 40 years? I don't know if that person would have done that again. And it ruined relationships that he's able to repair now. And things are much better when he's, kind of going through his way of living healthy, and he's just more happy. He's not drinking anymore. He's which is putting him around. It's allowing him to be with himself a little bit more and reflect. But also, I think there's this sense of, I want to find people that are going to allow me to grow in this sense, this spiritual sense. So, yeah, these are common patterns and threads for humans and men in general, because I think a lot of men have wanted to be the breadwinner, right? Traditionally, and things are changing. The world is changing. You don't have to be that anymore. You can do something and create something that's going to provide for your well-being in your life. When you get into the mode of creation, things are going to start attracting to you. That's just the energy. And when you're in healthy habits, maybe you're at the gym, you're eating well, you're around good community that encourages you. You're not smoking. Maybe you're going on hikes and being around nature. You're gonna start seeing these things start to evolve into really, really good opportunities for you to grow spiritually and personally. And when you start to feel that lightness, you're never gonna want to go back. You're gonna start seeing the layers of the onion peel. And what I mean by that is, like, people will start moving out of your life. It's not that you want to be away from them, but you're going to be doing things that you're like, man, I feel so much better doing this, having these deep conversations, or having a lightness to a relationship, talking about the important things with friends that I'm starting to get to know. And then you start to see yourself almost craving opportunities to feel that way. Whether it's, for me, that was going to Pottery. I started playing sand volleyball. I joined an improv class. All of, some of these things like improv, people are pushing themselves out of their comfort zones. And that's a really good thing to do in a really healthy environment. And then you start to learn about each other. And that's what humanity is about. It's about making a positive impact on each other. And so, and like sand volleyball creates community. Pottery creates this opportunity to just sit with yourself and create something. And you might start thinking about things while you're doing that, or maybe you're just listening to music and you're feeling, just feeling in the zone, and you don't have to think about anything, which is nice. And it's like a meditative thing. Speaking of meditation, that's a great practice as well, to really drop into yourself and start to understand what feels best for you. That is really where you can start to, some of these things is where you can start to explore and get curious for yourself. And where are some gaps for you? I encourage you at the end of this call to really sit with yourself and think about, who are the people that are really moving me forward? When I'm with somebody, do I feel light? Do I feel encouraged? Do I feel ready to take on whatever's passionate inside of me? Do they make me kind of dive inside myself and think, okay, what can I do to be better? What can I, maybe not necessarily better, but what can I do to connect to myself more so that I can start being involved in something that makes me feel purpose and passion towards life that I can give back, because maybe those individuals are doing something in their life. And then, even people who can talk about the tough things with you, like what's going on in life. It's good to have that in your life. It's able to like really fill your cup and allow you to release some of those pent up feelings and that pent up energy. I encourage you to do those things and really identify who is in your life that's helping you, kind of push yourself towards that way, or where can you go? What environment can you put yourself in that's going to allow you to grow in the way that you want to, and not in any way to prove anything, but just to be able to connect with your own inner self, your own inner fire, to make a difference. Really, really sink into that. Think about, maybe write down the habits that you want to get rid of, and start to track that. And then the positive habits. What are the positive habits? Because it's really, it comes down to, what are we putting ourselves in front of, our habits? And then those are the people that we're going to be surrounding ourselves with. And once we can figure that equation out and what we want from that perspective, things are going to start falling into place. Your purpose is going to start coming to you, and then you're going to start making a difference in the way that you're supposed to in this world. So I hope this helps. I would love for you to just leave a comment below if this resonates with you, and maybe what is challenging you. What are you noticing in your world? And then if you could subscribe, that would be so wonderful. I'm building community, and I want everybody to be able to live life with purpose, heal, grow, and rise. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening.